General Joseph L. Votel is a retired U.S. Army 4-star officer and most recently the commander of U.S. Central Command, responsible for U.S. and coalition military operations in the Middle East, Levant, and Central and South Asia. During his 39 years in the military, he commanded special operations and conventional military forces at every level. His career included combat in Panama, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Notably, he led a 79-member coalition that successfully liberated Iraq and Syria from the Islamic State Caliphate. He preceded his assignment at CENTCOM with service as the commander of U.S. Special Operations Command and the Joint Special Operations Command. General Votel was recognized with the Distinguished Military Leadership Award from the Atlantic Council, the U.S. Arab Defense Leadership Award from the National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations, the Distinguished Service Award from the National Medal of Honor Society, the Sergeant James T. Reagan Lifetime Achievement Award from the Lead the Way Foundation, and the Freedom Award from the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. In July of 2019, General Votel was announced as the prospective President and CEO of Business Executives for National Security. He is a strategic advisor for the Sierra Nevada Corporation, as well as a non-resident distinguished fellow at the Middle East Institute in Washington, D.C., and the Belfer Center at the John F. Kennedy School of Government in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and an advisor to the Combating Terrorism Center at West Point, New York. He is a member of the Board of Directors for Service to School, a nonprofit organization that helps military veterans transition and win admission to the nation's best graduate and undergraduate schools, and is a member on the Council of Foreign Relations. General Votel is a 1980 graduate of the United States Military Academy and earned master's degrees from the U.S. Command and Staff College and the Army War College. He is married to Michelle, and they have 2 grown sons, a daughter-in-law and a granddaughter. The Votels reside in Lake Elmo, Minnesota. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome General Joseph Votel.
Thanks, Baker, for that great introduction. And how about a big round of applause for our musicians here this morning? That great rendition of the national anthem, fantastic. Headmaster Admiral John Crowley and Commandant of Cadets Neil Hetherington, members of the Junior ROTC Department, St. Thomas Academy faculty and staff members, parents and friends, family members of our Flemming Medal recipients, and especially the cadets of this extraordinary school. Thanks for the opportunity to join you this morning for the awarding of the Distinguished Flemming Medal. Let me also just give a quick shout out to Bill and Colleen Kramer, a fellow Cretan classmate, but the parents of at least 3 students here at St. Thomas who really set me up for this opportunity to come and speak here at St. Thomas Academy. I'm very, 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 very grateful for it. I was mentioning to the headmaster that when I was in high school, he asked me if I played sports. And I said, yes, I played football and basketball. And then I said, the basketball coach, when I was a sophomore at Cretan, said the best way that you can contribute to the Cretan basketball team is to be on the wrestling team. And so the last time that I was actually here at St. Thomas Academy, I was a senior at Cretan High School, and I was a member of the wrestling team. And we had an event out here at St. Thomas. And frankly, I don't remember the results of the overall match or of my particular bout at the 180-pound class. I was a very average wrestler, so there's an even chance that I either won or lost my bout. But for the purposes of today, I think we can just agree that the best man won that afternoon. You know, it's interesting to me that while Cretan and St. Thomas were often arch rivals in sports at the time, I always had a very deep and healthy respect for St. Thomas Academy. They were always very worthy competitors, and like Cretan, enjoyed a strong and positive reputation across the Twin Cities. And while we enjoyed and indeed benefited from a very strong rivalry, we all actually grew up with each other, lived in the same neighborhoods, went to the same grade schools, attended the same churches, danced at some of the same mixers, oftentimes dated the same girls, and matriculated to many of the same colleges. And I'm proud that my graduating class from Cretin remains close to our St. Thomas Academy counterparts. I attended an event last spring honoring one of my Cretin classmates who was unfortunately killed a number of years ago in an accident while attending St. John's University. And I was pleased that we had a number of St. Thomas Academy graduates also in attendance. I think there is something to the notion that institutions that ground themselves in strong values, lifelong relationships, citizenship to our nation, and service to our community have a tendency to be drawn together. I always thought this was the case with our respective schools, and I'm so honored to be joined today with my wife, Michelle, to spend some time with you today. In a few moments, I'll share some comments on this award and provide some thoughts for our cadets as they consider their places as graduates of this proud institution. But first, let me address two other groups who are present today. Let me start with the staff and faculty here at St. Thomas Academy. Thanks to all of you for your efforts to not only educate and motivate, but to truly inspire these young men who sit among us this morning. There is no more noble profession than that of a teacher or coach. I can recall vividly those who served this role for me when I was a student, and they had an overwhelmingly positive influence on me. All of you can only feel pride in the accomplishments of these young men and the significant role that you are playing in preparing them for a life of consequence. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for our St. Thomas Academy faculty, staff, and coaches. The second group I want to recognize are the parents, grandparents, friends, and families of these cadets. I'm a product of a very large and engaged family, and I understand well how important that was for me in any success I attained in life, personally or professionally. Thanks for the role that you have played. None of this happens without this. And no one gets anywhere without the help of their families and their communities. Thanks for setting a good example. Thanks for demanding high standards. And thanks for nurturing and encouraging the passion of your children. You too should feel pride this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for the parents, grandparents, families, and friends of the young men of St. Thomas Academy. As you know, today is Veterans Day in America. It is a day we acknowledge the service of our fellow citizens in uniform. I believe veterans provide a unique thread of strength in the fabric of our country. Many of us grew up in the shadow and under the influence of World War II, Korea, or Vietnam veterans. And today, many of our communities now include veterans from the global war on terrorism. Some veterans served as a result of a draft. Many more volunteered to serve their country. Some have a history of uniformed service in their families, and others are the first in their line to serve. Some joined the military to escape bad situations or because they were out of options. Many are indeed immigrants to our country and often see military service as a duty to thank the country that gave them and their families an opportunity to be free and safe. Whatever the reason, it is important to publicly acknowledge this service. We are a generous country, and I am appreciative for the multitude of programs and organizations designed to support our veterans and their families. Our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, once observed while reflecting on the sacrifices of the Civil War that a nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. President Calvin Coolidge underscored Lincoln's remarks when he commented after World War I that a nation that forgets its heroes will itself soon be forgotten. General George C. Marshall, the architect of victory in World War II, remarked, "It is impossible for the nation to compensate for the services of a fighting man. There is no pay scale that is high enough to buy the services of a single soldier during even a few minutes of the agony of combat, the physical miseries of the campaign, or of the extreme personal inconvenience of leaving his home to go to the most unpleasant and dangerous spots on earth to serve his nation." During the dedication of the Korean War Memorial in 1995, President Bill Clinton commented to both veterans and those who died in that conflict by saying, "We honor you today because you did answer the call to defend a country you never knew and a people you never met. They are a good country, and they are a good people, and the world is better because of you." During the dedication of the Vietnam Memorial on Veterans Day in 1988, President Ronald Reagan included this important reminder in his remarks. "We remember today that all our gentle heroes of Vietnam have given us a lesson in something more, a lesson in living love. Yes, for all of them, those who came back and those who did not, their love for their families lives. Their love for their buddies on the battlefields and friends back home lives, and their love for their country lives." I'm so glad that St. Thomas Academy is choosing this day to present this very distinguished award to two veteran graduates who not only carried with them the values and virtues that they gained as students here, but in fact put them into action in the service of our country. The Flemming Medal is a way to acknowledge and remember this service, a reminder to all of us that in difficult times, good men and women rise up and go to the aid of their country. And when that service was over, they came back to their communities and made us better through their understanding of service, sacrifice, discipline, and teamwork. In a few moments, we will be presenting the Flemming Medal to the families of two distinguished graduates of this institution, General Alfred M. Grunther and Major General Patrick J. Ryan, who you will hear more about from our cadets. The Flemming Medal is named in honor of class of 1935 graduate and Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, Captain Richard Flemming. Captain Flemming distinguished himself by conspicuous gallantry under fire, above and beyond the call of duty. During the consequential Battle of Midway, early in the war in the Pacific, Captain Flemming demonstrated a level of leadership, heroism, and selflessness in several sequential battlefield events, which ultimately resulted in his death, and in the process of doing this, significantly influenced the outcome of this battle by inspiring the airmen that he led to press the fight to its successful conclusion. For this, the President of the United States at the time, Franklin Roosevelt, posthumously conveyed this Congressional Medal of Honor. It is right and proper that St. Thomas use this example as a way to recognize alumni veterans who also distinguish themselves. Today's recipients, General Alfred Grunther and Major General Patrick Ryan, are eminently deserving of this recognition. Each of them played key leadership roles not only during World War II, but also over a lifetime of uniformed service to our country. Alfred Grunther concluded his uniformed service as the Supreme Allied Commander Europe, a position once held by Dwight David Eisenhower and Omar Bradley. He went on to continue his service as the President of the American Red Cross. Major General Patrick Ryan, an ordained Roman Catholic priest, concluded his uniformed service as the U.S. Army Chief of Chaplains, responsible for the spiritual well-being of the entire U.S. Army. He served our Catholic Church for the remainder of his life. I am very pleased that General Grunther's grandchildren and great-grandchildren, as well as his daughter-in-law Brigida and her sister Carol, are able to be with us today. Congratulations to both our recipients and their families. I hope that the example of these two men can be another beacon for our cadets on the virtues of leading a life of service to their country and community. Let me close my comments today by addressing the young men of St. Thomas Academy and offering you some advice from a Greek philosopher, which I think may be of some use to you as you continue to move forward in whatever is next for each of you. The Greek philosopher I'm thinking about is Aristotle, one of the greatest intellectual figures of Western history. And he spent a considerable part of his life thinking and reflecting on the idea of great souledness, those human qualities that made people not only lead positive and productive lives, but in fact made them stand out among their fellow citizens. Aristotle observed that great men, those he deemed as the great souls, shared three virtues that set them apart from others. The first of these virtues was prudence, the ability to govern and discipline yourselves, to use caution and thoughtfulness in taking action and making decisions, and to endeavor to accumulate wisdom over the course of your lives. All of you will be tempted to take the easier path, taking shortcuts or looking for instant gratification. This is seldom successful. Nothing truly good comes easily. All experiences, good and bad, is important, and it gives us the ability to accumulate wisdom that will help inform our future decisions and actions. Success comes through hard work and preparation. This school is helping you to develop the skills that will instill discipline and help you make good decisions over the course of your life. The second of Aristotle's virtues is passion, the ability to love something even when it is hard or seemingly unattainable. Passion requires determination and conviction. All of you have activities in your life that you feel strongly about. It might be athletics, it might be academics, it might be reading, writing, caring for animals, or something like robotics or technology. Whatever it is, strive to love and pursue it, despite the obstacles that might get in your way. Passion for things we enjoy as young men helps us develop passion for things that will be more important to us as adults and for the communities in which we will live and serve. The final virtue that Aristotle spoke of is patience, the ability to endure difficult or trying circumstances without immediately responding with anger, complaints, or resignation. Patience requires tolerance, understanding, and the need to look at all sides of a problem. As my wife of 39 years often reminds me, everyone is entitled to their own ridiculous opinion. Patience means we exercise self-restraint and not jump to conclusions. Patience means that we act stoically, with dignity, understanding, maturity, and accumulated wisdom. In the future, you will undoubtedly find yourself in difficult situations. Patience will help you and those around you navigate through these times. The greatest leaders our nation ever produced are those who could remain calm and collected when confronted with seemingly insurmountable challenges. Being part of this school and learning about teamwork and discipline will help you develop patience. I think Aristotle had it right. 2,500 years of human history can't be wrong. So that is my advice to all of you cadets this morning. Whether you are underclassmen just starting out or seniors getting ready to head off to college soon, be prudent by disciplining yourself. Be passionate about the things you love and pursue them through the difficulties that arise. And strive to exercise patience when you confront difficult people and situations. Today, you will hear more about 3 graduates of this institution, Robert Flemming, Alfred Grunther, and Patrick Ryan, who exhibited these virtues in spades. The 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, observed when speaking at an event honoring veterans and those lost in service to our country. As we express our gratitude, we must not forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them. The examples of others inspire us to do better, to be kinder, to be more appreciative of what we have. They remind us that despite the politics, we must appreciate and support those that answer the call. And they teach us that sacrifices are never made in vain. They mean something, and our public acknowledgement of that is so important for those that are left behind and for those who have served beside them. Thank you once again for the opportunity to be here this morning. It is inspiring for me to see the values, citizenship, patriotism, and action, as well as the manifested acknowledgement and appreciation for those who came before all of you. I wish each of you the good luck and Godspeed, and I wish the St. Thomas community the very best as it continues its mission of preparing young men for positive and progressive lives in our communities. Thank you very much.